Hello, good people. Welcome back to another episode. So today the podcast title is Fundamental Economic Factors and Their Interdependence. So let start. Economics as a social science seeks to elucidate how individuals, institutions, and governments allocate scarce resources to satisfy unlimited human wants. At its core, economic analysis revolves around several foundational factors like production, consumption, labor, capital, and governance, each of which exert a profound influence on a national and global economic performance. The dynamic interaction among these factors determines a country's growth trajectory, stability, and long term prosperity. One of the most pivotal economic factors is labor, which encompasses not merely the size of the workforce but also its scale composition, productivity, and adaptability. A demographically robust and well educated population enhances productive efficiency, foster innovation, and attract foreign investment. Conversely, a declining or inadequately skilled labor force can precipitate stagnation, erode competitiveness, and amplify dependency ratios, thereby exerting fiscal pressure on public welfare system. So, the capital information constitute another cornerstone of economic development. Capital includes physical assets such as machinery, infrastructure, and technology, as well as human capital embodied in education and health. Sustain investment in capital accumulation, expand productivity, capacity, and facilitate technological advancement. However, insufficient allocation of capital, often due to corruption, weak institutions, or policy misalignment, can result in diminishing returns and structural inefficiencies within the economy. Production and productivity are inextricably linked to both labor and capital. Productivity growth enables economies to generate greater output without proportionate increase in input, thereby improving living standard. Technological innovation, economies of scale, and efficient supply chains serve as critical drivers of productivity. In their absence, economies are risk becoming trapped in low value added production, rendering them vulnerable to external shocks and market volatility. Another indispensable factor is consumption, which represents aggregate demand within an economy. Consumer confidence, income distribution, and purchasing power indirectly influence consumption patterns. Excessive inequality can suppress aggregate demand as wealth concentration limits broad based spending, while excessive reliance on consumption without corresponding production growth may lead to inflationary pressure and trade imbalance. Now, another part of the podcast is structural determinants and macroeconomic forces. Here is economic system are governed not merely by market transaction but by a constellation of structural determinants that collectively shape growth dynamics, income distribution, and long-term resilience. Among these determinants, macroeconomic stability, institutional quality, demographic transition, and technological diffusion occupy a position of paramount importance. The interaction generate emergent economic outcomes that can't be adequately explained through isolated variables. A central macroeconomic factor is inflation, which reflect persistent changes in general price level, while moderate inflation may signal robust demand and economic expansion. Excessive or volatile inflation distorts price signal, erodes real incomes and undermines saving behavior. Chronic inflationary environments often precipitate capital flight and currency depreciation, particularly in economies with fragile monetary credibility. Conversely, prolonged deflation can suppress investment incentives, increase real debt burdens, and instant stagnation. Equally consequential is fiscal policy, which governs public expenditure and taxation. Expansionary fiscal strategies can stimulate economic activity during downturns by augmenting aggregate demand, yet unstable, unsustainable fiscal deficit risk crowding out private investment and exacerbating sovereign debt vulnerabilities. The efficiency of fiscal intervention is contingent upon institutional discipline, revenue mobilization capacity, and expenditure efficiency factors frequently deficient is developing economies. So the last one is monetary policy administered through interest rates and liquidity management. Functions as a stabilizing mechanism against cyclical volatility. Central bank independence enhances policy credibility, anchoring inflation expectation and